All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
Good morning, all. Good morning, good morning, good morning. We are live. Washington, D.C. is this location. This is the home of my mother and father. My dad is not in the best of health right now, so I came home to kind of help out on things. And just, I don't know how helpful or I don't know what kind of difference I'm making, but it's cool. I think I lift his spirits, and it's great to see him out of the hospital. That's kind of cool. But anyway, that's why we're here at this location. So the connection, internet-related type things may be a little iffy at times today, so appreciate your forbearance. Forbearance would be a ding word.
Speaking of ding words, I feel like I now understand why you're so smart. Because you grew up in a house with all those books. Look behind you. Wow.
Well, thank you. This is, though, all the books in the house, everything behind me.
It's the fountain of Thompson knowledge.
Let me tell you something. This house is like the Library of Congress. There are papers everywhere. It's obnoxious and annoying. But thank you for that, kind of side entrance comment and compliment. What a show we have. David Katz, the legal ninja, will be in the 11 o'clock hour. We'll talk about so many things related to the law. The Texas abortion pill ban that may apply in California. We've spoken of it in our last conversation with Katz, but it continues to be a concern, and it grinds on, and it may be getting to the point at which David can comment on the realities of it becoming law. Also, questions about the Supreme Court and around the Supreme Court continue. And a major decision made, not a major announcement, a major decision made about a Trump lawyer who signed on to the big lie, as it is called, and was facing disbarment. I'll tell you about what happened, but I'll also want to get in with Katz as to why it happened, the way it happened. Kim is here, as you've heard. Albert is here, as you've probably noticed. And he's put together a great show. We've got so much stuff going on in addition to David Katz Thursday. Tech Thursday brings Jefferson Graham into our midst. That'll happen just after 10:40, something like that, 10:45. And then, as I say, Katz in the next hour. And we'll even visit It's the Planet Stupid News of the Environment, even though Belinda is away today. Now, major storm. I mean, I was looking at some of the communications from Spencer Christian, and it looks as though they've raised the expected intensity of this next storm. They've done this over the last couple of days. Yeah.
Just yesterday, he said the storm would come with a fury, and now he's saying it's going to be even worse.
Well, let me make the point. Maybe I'm making it inartfully.
They do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
Just let me finish my point, if you would, please. Initially, it was thought of as a level 2 that would become a level 3. I think now it's being talked about as a level 3 storm that will hit kind of with that ferocity right away. But there's no need for us to in any way theorize as to what they said. The they that said it is waiting in our green room now. Please welcome the award-winning Spencer Christian, everyone. Come on.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. You described it perfectly. You really did.
Of course I did, Spencer, but I have to indulge. Tell us, though, the precipitation figures I'm seeing, rainfall numbers, they're really high.
They really are. Just with the first stage of the storm, which is basically from early evening today, 7 p.m., to early morning tomorrow, we're expecting anywhere from 1.5 inches to about 3 inches of rain generally across the area. But that's, the storm will continue beyond tomorrow morning. The overall rainfall estimates right now for the duration of the storm through Saturday into Saturday night are like 2.5 to about 6 inches. Now, the 6 inch estimates are for the higher elevations, which we discussed before. more rain in the hills and mountains. So the Santa Cruz Mountains and the North Bay Mountains, Mount Hamilton, places like that, they may see 4.5 to 6 inches of rain, especially the Santa Cruz Mountains, because they're closer to the coast, and that's where the storm hits land first. But even down in the bay level communities, we're talking about between now and 11 o'clock Saturday night, maybe about 2.5 to 4.25 inches of rain.
Wow.
That's a lot of rain.
On an area that's already been pounded.
Yeah, an area already saturated, and we've already had. I mean, it doesn't take much rain at this point to produce localized flooding. Rain like this can produce massive, widespread flooding, and obviously can loosen, tree roots. And we've got strong gusty wind coming in with this storm. Wind gusts up to 50, maybe 55 miles an hour. It'll be pretty easy for those winds to blow trees over. And then you've got, the groundwater thing. I don't want to get too technical, but the arteries under the ground that hold the groundwater have shriveled over the last few years because they've been so dry, so they can't absorb that water as they typically would. So we're in a touchy situation here.
It's interesting because March is typically a month where things wind down a bit. We've had a couple of exceptions. I remember in one semi-drought year, meaning of short-term drought year. I understand we're in a 20-year drought cycle, but a semi-drought year, we had what they call the miracle March, where essentially made up a season's worth of rainfall in a March. But typically speaking, from a climatological perspective, March is a wind down month, right?
That's right. That's absolutely right. Yeah. And thus, all the old cliches about March, comes in like a lion, goes in like a lamb, all those things. But it is a transitional or a winding down month. That's right. But not this March so far.
No. I mean, this is incredibly busy. All right. So before we let you go, just review for us. So this is a level 3 that's coming in, and it will likely continue through Saturday.
Yeah. And so it's coming in as with a level 3 ranking already, which on our 5-point system is a strong storm. And it probably will, the most intense elements of the storm will be felt probably between about 7 o'clock this evening and 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. But even as it starts to weaken a bit tomorrow morning, I think we're still going to probably keep it at a level 2 for most of the day tomorrow, and then maybe down to a level 1 by tomorrow evening, or by, did I say tomorrow evening? I'm sorry, by Saturday morning into Saturday evening. Yeah.
Okay. So you're saying it'll be level 2 showery kind of thing on Saturday as we wind down. But prior to that, later today, tonight, tomorrow, that's your level 3 period.
Level 3. That's right.
Okay, cool.
That's right.
I have a question as well, weather related, if I could.
Yes, McAllister, please, with a question.
Thank you. When you have snow coming down on rain coming down on top of snow, I read a story yesterday talking about flooding, especially in the Sierra, because the rain could melt the snow, and also that the water can be heavy on the snow and cause roofs to collapse. And so I wonder what's going to happen there, and what's can you talk a little bit about what that may bring?
Sure.
Yes, Spencer, could you scare us some more, please? We were not.
Kim, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I just interviewed the mayor of Lake Tahoe a couple of days ago, and we were talking about this very thing. So already there are homes in that area, up in the Sierra, in that area, that have several feet of snow on their roofs that have accumulated, and that snow is heavy, and it can cause collapsing roofs. Now, you add rain to that snow will absorb the rain. It'll become those snow piles, if you will, I can't think of a better word, on those roofs will become even heavier. They'll become heavier quickly, and they pose a serious hazard. They can cause roofs to collapse. I mean, they can really do serious damage to the house and to the people inside those houses. So she was encouraging people to please get out and find some way to get the snow removed from your roofs before this rain begins. And as you also pointed out, Kim, this is a warmer storm than previous ones this winter. So it's going to cause melting snow on the highways, and it's going to add to the flooding potential. And it's just going to be a mess.
I'd like to mention a positive from all of this storm.
Yes.
And a thing that's actually getting more positive. This is odd for me because I usually live in a world of grimness, as you know, and pessimism. But I will tell you that and this relates to Lake Tahoe, you made me think of it.
Yeah.
one of the things that's happened at Lake Tahoe that's a positive is that the lake itself has achieved a clarity in the water that we haven't seen in years.
Oh,
You
that's
know,
wonderful.
Lake Tahoe was becoming this murky, and it's a gorgeous place. I think it's one of the most beautiful places on earth.
Yeah.
And it was becoming, the water itself, this sort of murky lake that didn't necessarily reflect the majesty, grandeur, and beauty that it has historically. But because of these record snows, and because of all of this precipitation, this sort of unrelenting series, the lake has now achieved a clarity that's really exciting. I mean, it's kind of gone back to some of the golden years of Lake Tahoe in terms of the clarity. So there's that.
You are absolutely right, Mark. I mean, I can remember back in the late 1970s, early 80s when I first started visiting Lake Tahoe, and gosh, it was so beautiful. You know, it was almost like some of those Caribbean places where you could see down to the bottom of the
Right.
water. Yeah. And you're right. This snow has really helped. I don't know if the word is clarify, but to make the lake more beautiful. Yeah.
You know, also I remember now, Spencer Christian in The Godfather in Godfather 2, Michael killed Fredo on Lake Tahoe, or was that a different lake?
Is that where it happened?
I don't
Yeah.
know. Was it Lake Tahoe? Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, memories. All right, so Spencer Christian,
Fredo's been washed away now. He's gone. You won't see him at the bottom of the lake.
He won't resurface in the storm.
that's right. Hey, Spencer Christian, we're going to check in with you one more time tomorrow to round out the week.
Oh, absolutely. Please do. Yeah.
You're the very best to be here, my friend.
You are.
All right. Love you.
Yes.
Spencer Christian, everybody, come on.
Yeah.
All right.
That guy's awesome. No, I mean you are too, Mark. You know.
Yeah, well, it's okay. Albert, are you going to sting me, or what are you going to do here?
The Mark Thompson Show.
So if you're just joining us, that's a little blast of weather from Spencer Christian on what to expect. I want to mention something else that's going to happen. We'll review news at the bottom of the hour. Kim's got a bunch of it.
Yeah.
But we're also going to touch on today a couple of things that are happening, and they begin next week. One of which is Mark's Madness. Now, Mark's Madness, I'm wearing the hat right now. It parallels March Madness, which is a basketball tournament, and it's a collegiate basketball tournament that captures a lot of the nation, a lot of workplaces, have you fill out different sort of competitive pool type related brackets as to how the tournament's going to proceed, and you pick a winner. What we do here is we have different drops play up against each other, and we have a full bracket of drops, and you have to predict which drops will advance to each round. So I bring in the commissioner of Mark's Madness, and that is fresh face producer Albert. Albert, please, could you explain to us the timing and exactly how things are going? And if you wouldn't mind, I'd love to demonstrate, I mean, just quickly here, how it will actually work.
Of course. So, for example, I'll give you, let's say like there's an apology bracket. Okay, so there will be two drops going against each other. So
that are both apology related.
Yes.
Okay.
My bad. I'm sorry.
That one's a popular one, and it'll probably go against.
It was wrong. It was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
So it's Whoopi versus Tubin in that instance.
Yeah, exactly. Whoopi versus Tubin, and then in the chat I will have a poll available, so you could live vote on that poll. And if you wanted to reach to me, like write it on Twitter. If you're not on YouTube, if you want to listen to the show later, I will also look at. I'll probably post a comment and count it there too as well. So we will count and see whatever wins, whatever's most popular, will move on to the next round. In terms of that, the actual bracket itself, March 14th, we will have a play-in bracket. So two fringe drops that kind of like, oh, I'm not sure if they're going to make it. I'm not sure if they're popular enough. They will go head to head, and it'll be an example of how you can vote for the actual bracket.
And
so
so
that's
the
on
play-in
March 14th.
14th, okay.
Tuesday, March 14th. And then on the 15th is when you're going to fill out the complete brackets. So actually, we'll contain the voting for just the first hour on the 14th. So the second hour, we could all start filling out our brackets. Maybe we could review the bracket at some point on the 15th during the show. So we could kind of walk everyone through it if this is your first time. And it'll be kind of fun to see what people are picking. And we'll also reach out to our celebrity friends to participate.
It is totally fun. It is something that you don't need any special knowledge to do well at, and we expect everybody will enjoy it. As I say, those who are the diehard Marks Madness players, they likely have the hat, which you can get at getmarkmerch.com, but you don't need to have a hat. You don't need to have ever even seen the show. You can jump on right now if you're a newcomer, and we'll play you the drops next week, I guess is what the commissioner's saying, and you'll get the vibe. And it should be a lot of fun.
So there will also be, if you listen to the show via podcast, I will show some light to the podcast by playing all the drops as a podcast. So if you want to partake, it won't be on YouTube, unfortunately, but
we'll have a link to it. Yeah.
But yeah, we will have a link to it from YouTube where you could go listen to all the drops in case you're not sure which drop is what.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great point Albert's making, just to round it out, and that is we will give you everything you need to participate. We'll give you all the tools. We'll let you hear the drops in a separate podcast. You can listen to them over and over. You can figure out which one you think is going to move to the next round. We want you to have fun with us on this. It's really a great period that we do every year on this show, Marks Madness, and this will be a fun go-round. It'll be our first go-round here on YouTube with it. So
where did you say I can get my bracket? Was that at the website?
Albert?
We're working on that, so we'll update that as soon as possible. So I need to reach out to the people for the website, and also that my actual bracket. I've been using a third party for the brackets, like a separate website for the bracket, but I'm trying to do it all on my own via like a Google Doc, a Google Sheet. So I'm switching it up, making it less ads, because I knew a lot of people were complaining about the ads of the website. So
yeah, we used the website that we did for certain reasons that had to do with sort of ease of it does a lot of things, like it tracks who's ahead. There's sort of an ongoing ease to using that website, but getting on the website and sometimes the pop-up ads and all this stuff, it was a little rough. And it was
didn't work with some browsers too. A lot of people were just using the wrong browser and it wasn't working, and they kept on. I was basically an IT guy during the Marks Madness.
A lot of people asking, what does the winner get?
Well, this is
nothing.
Yes. In the rich tradition of the show, I will buy something for everyone who is in the top. Well, I did usually top 5 is what I usually get, right, Albert? I believe top 5.
Yeah, top 5. You did shirts last year, and I got a third place shirt. There was an internal investigation into my picks if I had any insider information.
Yeah.
And our Dominion voting machines were very useful. So I was claimed to be innocent.
Yes, you were okay. In fact, we all play. Like Kim will have one, and I'll have it, and Albert plays. You can monitor how we do, and you'll see we're not really that good at it. But Albert did have a rally. He really came through it. They're very, very strong. And last year he was in third place. But I will do the T-shirts again, I think, Albert, probably for the top 5 finishers. So anyway, that's all happening next week. So good luck. Please play with us, on this. I think you'll really enjoy it. And
I'll start reaching out to our regulars, like Michael Shore. That'll be fun for him to do a bracket. Snyder. And they don't have to even know a lot about it, but I just like to see how far they get.
Yeah. Bravo, bravo, Albert. Bravo.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Oh, yeah, the light inside the body drop. I think Julie wants to make sure that gets in there. That I feel like that might be a play-in. You know what I mean? But maybe not. Maybe it'll make the main pick. The commissioner does it all. I don't really have. I mean, I can advise, but he is the commissioner.
We have a lot of great Trump drops, and it's probably too many, but there's a lot of people who don't like the Trump drops, but I obviously really like them because, you know, he says a lot of wild stuff, and it plays well for our show. So maybe there will be a Trump bracket at some point. So we'll see how that goes.
I'll just mention that there are new budget details coming out of Washington, where I am right now. A $6.8 trillion budget. And I also, even before I get into any of the specifics, I just want to mention that this budget won't pass, right? We understand that. This is, and Trump had the same thing, and presidents prior, the offering by the chief executive and his administration as to where they feel money should be assigned and apportioned to do the best for American society. So, you know, when you have a divided Congress like this, you don't even think about passing the budget, but nonetheless, it's a reflection of values and of priorities in administration. It's the line, don't tell me what your priorities are, show me your budget, and I'll tell you what your priorities are, right? You can apply that to anything, even your personal life, but the full blueprint that he's laid out with his budget has no chance of passage. He does have tax increases proposed, $5 trillion in proposed tax increases on the highest earners and corporations over the course of a decade. This would be phased in. He wants to reduce budget deficits by $3 trillion over that time, funded by those tax increases. You know, one of the things that's talked about so much with the deficit, and there are all these deficit hawks on the part of the GOP, essentially, when they're the party in power in the executive branch, you don't hear much about it. When they want to cut taxes, you don't hear much about it. But when they want to start a war, you don't hear much about it. You know, but when it comes time to pay for social programs and those things that you might consider, even Social Security and Medicare, things that are fairly boilerplate, all you hear about is the budget, the budget, the budget. Expenditures, we're out of control with expenditures. And until we cut expenditures, we're not going to approve even raising the debt ceiling. Of course, that's the big game that's being played right now. But the thing I would love to remind everyone is of the fact that it's not just cutting expenditures that can help reduce the deficit if you're so concerned about the deficit. You can increase taxes on corporations that pay very little to nothing in taxes. You can increase taxes on the highest earners in this society who have benefited the most from this society. Not saying they shouldn't have that money and don't deserve that lifestyle and all the benefits that come with it, but I'm just saying they should pay back into a system that has given them so much. So that's the other way you can address deficit concerns. You can raise money in what I think are very reasonable tax increases. So, but the debt ceiling and the budget we'll talk more about in the days to come. But that, I think, certainly is the headline, that Biden budget is out. Bottom of the hour will be Kim's News. In the next half hour, it's Tech Thursday. The great Jefferson Graham, the longtime former writer for USA Today on technology, he will join us. He also brings his guitar, and he lavishes us with the TV themes.
That's always fun.
Yeah. So that is still to come. I wanted to do one other piece of business if I can. The
Mark Thompson Show.
The thing I wanted to do was try to recognize and remind people that we adore you for having jumped on this show with your support with both Patreon and PayPal. You know, YouTube is an easy way to contribute. You see super stickers and super chats, and so grateful for everybody who jumps in for whatever. But many have joined us in the early days when we first came on the air in October. in the ashes of the KGO experience, we launched this show here, and we're working it all out, and there are technical limitations and all this sort of thing, but there are also a lot of opportunities that we never thought to build a community, et cetera. But anyway, so Kim, a lot of people jumped on with PayPal early on, and they made contributions to get us up and running. And I wanted to mention again my gratitude to so many of these people. Brian K, Sue. I don't use people's last name because I feel like I want them to get, you know what I mean? Is that a mistake? Or
No. They know who they are.
Okay. And again, I
Stephen, right?
Oh, and Stephen. Now,
Thank you.
Yeah. Stephen is someone, Stephen S., who has written to us and saying he felt a little underappreciated.
Oh, no.
Yeah. He's given, I made a contribution for $21.34, which is very nice. Sometimes they'll say, do you want to pay for the transaction fee or whatever?
Oh, yeah.
And so he did that. And
Thank you.
it was a PayPal contribution. He said, I was never recognized. And I'm sorry, Stephen, for that. I think there are a lot of people who we don't recognize with shout outs that I want to try to integrate more. But I'm hoping this. I'm hoping the real reason that you're contributing is to try to keep the show on the air and to try to support us, and not just for the shout out.
Right.
I could even do a separate show with just shout outs if you like.
Well, and that's the thing. We're so grateful because there's so many people that seem to want us to keep going. And that's awesome. So I think they would rather hear show than all the shout outs, I think.
Right. But I also probably, I understand, like somebody who gives $100 and say, well, how come, I haven't gotten a shout out, and somebody who gave $4.99 is getting a shout out. It's because just of the organization and the way things are. But, Dave D and Thomas P and Judy C. Judy C gave us $100.
Wow.
And paid the transaction fee. That was back in November. And again, she's recognized on the closing credits. All of the people who give on PayPal and who donate on Patreon are recognized in the closing credits. That's what they're there for. And those who've given those larger amounts, their names are larger. The same way that, I give to a lot of charities, but if you go to their campus or their building, you won't see my name on the wall, and you won't see a corridor named after me because I haven't given enough to get a corridor or my name on the wall. Similarly, those people who have large names and large font have done so well by us, and we really do appreciate it. That's all I wanted to say. I'll try to recognize and integrate more, as I say, shout outs and other ways to turn a spotlight on those who have been with us early on in this process and continue to be our patrons and supporters. So I encourage you to go to Patreon or PayPal. That's the best way to direct support to the show of a financial type. And you can do that at themarkthompsonshow.com, themarkthompsonshow.com. There are 2 tabs and you click right through. That's it for that. Again, we don't want to dwell on it, but I did want to recognize some of the people who were on with us early in this entire thing. Kim's news, then the great Jefferson Graham on Tech Thursday about what's happening in the world of technology. Albert, if you would please regale us with Kim's over-the-top medieval news theme.
Aha. And this report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. I should note, I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show. Let's start in Ohio, where the train derailment that is still going on, this aftermath. The CEO now of Norfolk Southern says he is determined to make things right after the toxic train derailment in Ohio. While testifying before a Senate panel, CEO Alan Shaw said he was deeply sorry for the impact the derailment has had on the residents of East Palestine and surrounding communities. The hearing came as another Norfolk Southern train derailed in eastern Alabama. No reports of any injuries or leaks with that one, though.
Boy, he didn't. There's no apology in our file of apologies that he can possibly dust off.
My bad. I'm sorry. Won't work.
Yeah,
no?
It will not work for the Palestine crisis.
No, not good enough. I'm sorry. The bodies of 2 Americans, the folks who died after a kidnapping in Mexico last week, they'll be returned to the United States today. There's an autopsy that was performed in Mexico. A second will be done here in America after this transfer is complete. The 2 Americans were part of a group that crossed the border for a medical procedure last Friday before they were caught in the crossfire between rival gangs. And now this interesting information. Someone claiming to be from the drug cartel responsible for the abductions apologizing. Speaking of apologies, the letter was obtained by the Associated Press from apparently, and no proof on this, but from the Scorpions faction of the Gulf Cartel, allegedly responsible for abducting these folks.
Is that what the stationery says?
Yeah, yes, it does. We're
the
Scorpion faction. Yes, they've got a little scorpion in the top logo.
Yeah, beautiful
it says
logo.
They're apologizing to the residents of Matamoros, the Mexican woman who died in the shooting, the 4 Americans and their families. And here's the quote: "We have decided to turn over those who were directly involved and responsible in the events, who at times acted under their own decision-making and lack of discipline." It says those individuals went against the cartel's rules, which include respecting life and well-being of the innocent.
You know, they do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
Yeah.
I didn't know there were cartel rules, but apparently, who knew?
They stepped out of bounds.
Yeah, no can do.
I think the murder of 2 Americans, the kidnapping and murder of 2 Americans, got a lot of attention from the Americans and the American government, and is bad for the brand of Mexico, for tourism and all the rest. I mentioned that the area of Mexico affected by the warnings that come from the State Department, that's increased dramatically since this kidnapping even. So there are a lot of forces, economic primarily, that I think influence this cartel to issue this. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, but these cartels control that part of Mexico. So
it's a cartel apology. You know, they have to maintain the brand. I don't know what I mean. Does it mean you're not going to buy your drugs from the Scorpion cartel? I don't know.
Kidnapping and killing is bad for our brand, people.
I'm getting my drugs from the other cartel. That's it. I'm done with the Scorpions. Nikki Haley, this Republican presidential candidate, wants to change the retirement age for young people. Nikki Haley saying this at an event in Iowa while talking about entitlement programs like Social Security and Medicare, but her campaign wouldn't tell CNN what specific age she had in mind for the retirement age.
This is exactly what I was just talking about. The fact that you want to change Social Security because it's under the guise of trying to respect and roll back a lot of these budget concerns, that is deficit concerns.
Yeah.
But there are other ways to deal with that besides Social Security, and it's a political loser. So.
Okay, speaking of not buying your drugs at a certain place for a certain reason, the state of California not renewing a contract with Walgreens stores after the pharmacy chain said it will stop selling abortion pills in Republican-led states, even in some states where this pill is legal. The state's contract with Walgreens for prescription drugs worth more than $50 million was canceled yesterday. Yeah. Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom said they aren't supporting corporations that cut off access to reproductive care and freedom. That's right. Sorry, Walgreens, you're out in California. Tell me how you really feel, Kim. Tiger Woods' ex-girlfriend is accusing him of tricking her into leaving his Florida home and locking her out after she left. Get out, click, and don't come back. Erica Herman said Woods told her they would be...
Wild idea, but it just might work.
It is a kind of wild idea. I got to give him credit.
I mean, if you want her out, Erica Herman said Woods told her they would be going on a short vacation, but it was just an excuse to get her out of the house.
And when I say us, I mean you.
Right. Yesterday, Herman filed to toss out a non-disclosure agreement she signed in 2017 when they first started dating. Can you imagine, like, the woman who just won't leave? How do you get her out? We're going on a vacation. I don't know.
You get nothing.
Yeah, better get packing. We're leaving soon.
Pack up your stuff. This is a great way to get her to pack and get the hell out.
60% of the time, it works every time.
The Academy Awards turning down a bid from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to appear on the telecast. They say no, thank you.
They didn't like his movie. It's gone on too long. Changed the ending.
No,
great series, but it just doesn't seem to stop.
They already have enough comedians on the broadcast.
But, season 3 drags. Right.
He was on the Grammys, but I guess the Oscars, no, they don't want it. According to a report from Variety, this comes as recent polls show American support for providing assistance to Ukraine in its war against Russia has weakened some. So I don't know if that's why the Oscars said no thank you, or if he's just been on other broadcasts and they don't want to repeat.
Oh, you think he's overexposed?
Been done.
Hey,
right?
Caught you at the UN. Right. Caught you with other world leaders. It's okay to say no once in a while, okay? You're overexposed.
Been on the Grammys already. Yeah. If the Grammys did it, we don't want to.
I think you're onto something with the first thing, which is that he's become a slightly more controversial figure than he started out being.
Yeah. And lastly, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's daughter, for those who are royal watchers, is officially a princess. Princess Lilibet Diana. Their grandfather Charles, of course, became king. And so now both Lilibet and her brother Archie are officially afforded royal prince and princess titles. A spokesperson confirming the Duke and Duchess of Sussex had an intimate christening ceremony for their 21-month-old daughter, Princess Lilibet Diana, last week. An invitation to the christening extended to King Charles and Queen Consort Camilla, Prince William and Kate. They did not attend. This report, sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz.
Hate for Mr. Christening. It had to be a tough. What's the excuse you use on that?
Speaking
oh my
of
God, the christening is it that? I can't believe I spaced it. Wow, I've got something else I've got that thing. I've got to see that guy about that thing that day.
I think it's a long way from London to Santa Barbara, so
No.
I give him a pass. This report, sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and businesses. So if you need help with your taxes, Steve Moskowitz is the one to call. He's at 888-TAX-DEAL and MoskowitzLLP.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Y'all can all go to hell, and I'm going back to Texas.
I misspoke. And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
Why are you yelling?
It was great. I loved it.
How would you handle this?
We could try ignoring it, sir.
They pay me a lot of money for having attitude.
There's never been anything like this.
We've never seen anything like it before.
Nobody has ever put something like this together that I've ever seen.
Have you ever seen anything like this?
There is nothing in our history that quite compares to this.
I think I'm the most honest human being, perhaps, that God ever created.
God bless America. The end.
Someone did this to spoil our Christmas.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Sayonara, sucker!
You know what? Hell, you created havoc and chaos.
I don't think you should apologize for how you feel.
Do I hit it long? Is Trump strong? Huh?
Who is having that conversation?
What up, everybody? Welcome. This is my mom and dad's house in Washington, D.C. I was hoping I could have you all over, and life sometimes works out.
Drinks in the kitchen.
Yeah, pretty cool. Much to do on this show. We gave you an update on the storm that's moving in. Spencer Christian joined us. If for any reason you missed it, you can go back and we'll break it out as a separate video a little bit later. Next hour, David Katz, the former U.S. attorney, and he U.S. assistant U.S. attorney, and he will weigh in on all things legal. I just call him the legal ninja. So he will be here next hour as well, and we'll touch on some environmental stuff. And it's an anniversary of sorts, and we have a quiz question related to that anniversary. And so we'll get to all of those things in the minutes to come. But right now, he comes in on Thursdays. We call him Tech Thursdays. He is the tech guru, formerly over 30 years writing the tech column for USA Today. Now he does photo walks with Jefferson Graham. How about it for Jefferson Graham, everybody? Come on.
Hey, everybody.
Hi.
Good to see you. Hi.
Yeah. Look at Jefferson Graham. He changed his little ID for himself to work the plug in there.
That's right. I got a special guest coming today. You know that?
Yeah, live at 2 on YouTube is what it says.
Yeah, you know who's going to be there with me, Mark?
I've heard all about it.
Yeah.
But why don't you tell everybody?
The one and only Kim McAllister is going to join me today at 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kim.
What?
Yeah.
Maybe actually 2:05, right?
Yeah.
Kim, how are you?
Right after she does the Nikki Maduro show. She's doing my show, then she's doing Nikki's show, and then she's doing your show.
People are going to get tired of me.
She's got a Zelensky thing going on, you know, where Zelensky's everywhere.
No one has said no. I'm just waiting
like
for
this.
someone to say no. You right?
Yeah.
What would really be cool is if Kim came on my show with a yellow iPhone. Don't you think?
I don't have that.
That's my big news.
Yes,
sorry.
the yellow iPhone is his new. Go ahead, Jeff. Tell us what's up.
Apple has introduced a new color to the iPhone, yellow. Yellow like Pikachu yellow, like Trix yellow, and which is nice. And when you walk in the store on Friday, you'll get to see a yellow iPhone. My question is, who doesn't have a case? Because you'll never see the yellow. Mark and Kim, you both have cases, right?
Well, but my case is clear, so you can see the color of the phone through the case. So if I were to buy this Easter egg yellow iPhone for spring,
That's not fake. Yeah. That's real.
you would be able to see right through it. So yeah.
All right.
I mean, the yellow kind of pops, Jeff. I think she's right. Like you might want to go clear case just so you could rep with the yellow. No.
Okay. I like the yellow. I love yellow. Yeah.
But your point is a good one. I mean, it would be for most of us, it would be lost in the case. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a pretty yellow too. It's like a pastel yellow, like a very light, muted yellow. Easter. It's for Easter.
Nothing new. It's the same phone. Nothing new. No new special yellow pricing. It's the same phone, but that's cool. Otherwise, TikTok, everybody's favorite app to hate, Chinese based. There's a bill that was introduced this week to ban it and ban other apps that the government say are a national security risk. And the risk is that it's based in China. The Chinese government can get access to all of our information. I don't think it's going to be banned, though. I don't. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, we're happy to offer opinions, but you're the tech guy.
Okay. My opinion is
it's too popular.
The bill will go through, and at the last minute, just like when Trump was in office, and it looked like it was going to go away, and they kept coming up with solutions. TikTok will be sold. I mean,
wow.
They'll come up with something, right? It's too big. It's too popular that they're just going to tell the United States, everybody in the U.S., the hundreds of millions of people use it. You can't use it anymore.
Well, this brings up another point, and it's related to privacy. And you on this show have talked before about how to, protect our private information, and we talk about hacks all the time. We talk about cybersecurity and when it comes to intel worldwide. But when Americans are told that information is being aggregated and collected by TikTok, and TikTok is, even though it's a business, everything in China, if you will, is owned by the government, because that's just the way things are set up. So the Chinese government is actually getting all of this information about you, an American, your whereabouts, and all the other stuff that is collected. People don't seem particularly concerned about it. So
they don't care.
You know, the monster under the bed that is China. When it comes to using a fun app like TikTok, nobody really cares.
No, they don't care, and they don't care that Facebook follows them. It knows everything about them, and they just don't care. And Google, and it's all the same. But anyway, I think they'll sell it, or they'll figure out a way to get all the info collecting done offshore.
I was reading a story that a scary number of people actually get their news through TikTok.
Oh yeah,
it's a source, a social media source where people find information on current events of the day on TikTok, which that just surprised me. But
and
I feel
YouTube
like
and Facebook.
yeah, but I feel like if you give people an alternative, which they have, like Reels or other apps, and they know that TikTok may be connected to China and they don't want to support that, why not just switch to a different app? And then why wouldn't China just look at those apps and get the information on you anyway?
Well, they if it's Reels is owned by Facebook, so I don't know that China's going to get the information. I don't even think
It's all
Facebook
public,
is in China.
isn't it? I mean, you wouldn't have the
Oh,
username connected, but it's, the videos and the information that they would have had is all out there in the world.
Their IP address.
Oh
and
yeah, mm-hmm.
all that stuff, all the internals, and where they shop, where they go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
here's a question.
Could somebody do another app? Sure.
Here's a question from shadow producer Calvin Wong. He asks, why aren't laid off American tech workers making their own TikTok-like app? Why can't we get a homegrown TikTok, Jefferson Graham?
You can, but will anybody use it is another story. It takes years. There's several Twitter alternatives that have popped up in the wake of a crazy person running Twitter, and who uses it? We're still on Twitter, are we not? I mean, it's a lot of effort. Just like we've been talking about ChatGPT and Microsoft trying to catch up to Google. We're talking decades for them to really make an impact.
I didn't realize that TikTok had taken decades to make an impact. It seemed as though it was birthed overnight. You're saying it actually took a long time.
I revised that decades. We're in 2023. TikTok, 5 years.
Okay.
So 5 years takes a while.
What is this? Tell me about this wacky luggage. You sent me something on that, which said this is a real tech luggage related story.
Did you get the clip? Do we have it to show?
Al, did you get it?
Yeah, let me grab it.
Okay,
because it's really funny. It's luggage that follows you. Okay, and so you say to them, "Why?" And they say, "Well, you don't have to carry it. You don't have to carry it, and it can go up to 12 miles on a charge." And
it follows you like a puppy. It follows you.
Yes, you just walk through the airport, and you train it to know you, and you just get out of the car and just sail without having to pick up your hands and pick it up. And it only sells for $2,000. That's it.
Wow. In that case.
Yeah, wouldn't you pay for something like that?
Oh, I don't even like the idea of the luggage being out of my hands. You know what I mean?
What happens when you get to the TSA, and then you do have to pick it up and put it up on the
at some
conveyor
point,
belt, right?
Yeah.
This is something I wouldn't pay for. Apple announced that there'll be a new classical music subscription service coming out this week called Apple Music Classical. It is not free. You have to subscribe to Apple Music to get it, it'll be part of your $11 a month subscription, and they will have 5,000 classical selections. I know Mark and Kim are huge classical fans, right?
Of course.
Well, I am a classical fan. I don't know if you say that with mockery, Jefferson Graham.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Well,
and,
my kids are they play piano, and so they listen to it. We listen to classical in the car.
I wonder how much classical is going to be on it that you can't find on Spotify and YouTube Music and other places.
Yeah.
But there's one way to find out. Spotify is changing the look of their app to put in more podcast and video, and more TikTok-like recommendations, and that'll
Yeah,
be
it's interesting.
coming shortly.
Apple Music as a competitor is against what? Give me the other services.
YouTube
Spotify.
Music and Spotify are the two big ones. I happen to subscribe to YouTube Music for a very strategic reason. And what do you guys subscribe to? Do you know what my reason is?
What is the reason?
My reason is that if you subscribe to YouTube Music for $10 a month, you get YouTube ad free. And I rather enjoy that.
Great. Wow.
I have no idea. Huh.
That may be the tech tip of the day that you didn't even intend to share.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah.
Because I pay for ad-free YouTube. It's $9.99, I think, or $10 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And I also pay for that YouTube Music. I don't think there is a free version though, right?
Yeah, there's a free version. Yeah,
I think I just have the free version.
You should be able to sign into YouTube Music with your credentials and get it for free. Yeah.
Wow, this is great. I had no idea, but anyway, Apple Music Classical is debuting on the 28th of this month, and again, it'll be part of the $10.99 monthly that you pay.
Right. So it's a shame that we can't just try it without getting Apple Music, because Apple Music is just a clone of Spotify, as far as I'm concerned.
Sure. Yeah. What about this patent request that Apple issued?
Turn up the volume. It's a multi-gesture patent that you will use your hands to do certain things. So if I want to raise the volume on my speaker, just go like that. And other things like that. You will have to have a watch on your wrist, though, to make it connect.
I see.
And they're not the first ones to do this. There was a drone out that I had a few years ago, and you could put up your hands to make it fly.
That's pretty cool. And that makes more sense to me. You know, the trying to direct a drone with your hands kind of seems to be, at least I can visualize that more.
There's never been anything like this.
Yeah, exactly.
I was flying my drone yesterday in the biggest wind that I had been in such a long time. I was out in the California desert, and I didn't know how, I was watching it go like this, yet my footage is really crystal clear and looks fantastic, speaking of drones.
I was flying my drone yesterday is the most 2023 thing you could have said today. That was very, very good.
That's
hey,
not
Jefferson
fake.
Graham.
That's real.
Will you give us a little, first of all, Jefferson Graham should fill out, Albert, Commissioner, please make sure that Jefferson Graham gets a Marks Madness reminder. He needs to fill out his Marks Madness bracket. You have many, many days to do it. We haven't even put out the brackets yet, so you don't need to worry. But I do want you to participate. We're all playing along. And you usually grace us with themes. And I want to tell you, Jefferson, last week, I was traveling, and I was at the airport listening as Kim did a great job handling this sometimes unwieldy show. And you played themes that no one was getting, and it was driving me crazy because I'm screaming the answers. It was incredible. One, can you again repeat the one that really just made my head explode?
Yes.
Because it's sounding acoustic, it's harder to pick up on, but keep playing it. It's because if you're hearing guitar, you don't think of the heaviness of this theme typically. The final season is coming. Season 4 of
nobody knows?
Succession.
Oh, yeah, I don't watch that show.
It's just that's just such a great theme.
One of the 5 greatest TV themes of all time. And okay, so
but then the other one that the other one last week that drove me nuts was the classic TV show.
And I don't know which one that was.
What is that, Tim? I don't know it.
I recognize it, but I don't know it.
Yeah, no, I recognize it too. It's Bob Newhart, is that? Oh, that's Bob Newhart.
this was one that nobody knew, which I couldn't believe.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Popeye. You're right. Well, no, it was the one. It was the one before Popeye.
I don't remember.
Mr.
Ed.
Yeah.
Mr.
A
Ed.
horse is a horse, of course. I love that.
You've never
It just
asked me,
sounds.
Mark, how is it that all these songs coming out of my brain? You've never asked me that. Do we know this one?
Oh yeah, Hawaii 5-0.
Hawaii 5-0, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, some percussion
bring
there.
up the rest of the band. We're gonna do a whole. We're gonna do a whole presentation where we back you up with a band. That's in my. Right now it's all virtual, but it still might happen in person.
Okay.
Can I tell you that Hawaii 5-0 is my husband's ringtone for me whenever I call?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
That's how you know. Okay, how about this one?
Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
Bunch.
Wow, so good, so good. You are so good. It all sounds so high end.
It does
when you play it on guitar, doesn't it?
Yeah.
He's magical. You can find him in the world of photo walks on YouTube. You can also find his Photo Walks TV. You can also
can we put up the QR code? Does Albert have the QR code?
I was very surprised that you didn't have the QR code coming since you just, there it is.
368 to go.
Wow.
368 to hit 10,000.
Come on, kids. Yeah.
Smash
the
it
great
with
Jefferson
your iron
Graham.
rod.
Yeah, smash it. Grab that QR code, subscribe, and become one of the, there it is, one of those who follow and get all of the Jefferson Graham. And I just also recommend his Substack, jeffersongrahamsubstack.com. The reason I mention it is because a lot of the information that he shares here, he'll have there with the further explanations, even click-throughs. You can also stay posted on all the different videos that he's got going on his YouTube channel. So Jefferson Graham is a great resource in all those ways. And he's such a great friend of the show, has helped me in many ways with this world of YouTube, which is, it's a thicket of crap. And Jeff's been just great getting me through it. So thanks again, friend of the show, Jefferson Graham, everybody. Come on.
2 o'clock, 2 minutes, 2. Join me
2 o'clock. 2 o'clock, Kim joins him. So
yeah, I'll be here.
All right. Bravo, Jefferson Graham. Yeah. I'm into it. I'm into it. I might actually watch
The Mark Thompson Show.
Busy man, as you're well aware. In the next hour, David Katz, the tax ninja, joins us.
No. David Katz may be a tax ninja, but he's not the tax ninja.
Not tax ninja. Why do I say tax ninja? Legal ninja.
Yeah.
Legal ninja. God,
It's okay. I got your back. It's all right.
Thank you. I haven't slept in weeks.
You know, they
by the
do
way,
this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
I can't keep the intro straight, and I keep blowing David Katz's handle. I don't know why I do it.
David Katz, the legal ninja, the former assistant U.S. attorney. And he's got insanely good takes on everything going on in the law. The sun is bearing down on me through the, what is that called? A skylight, Kim, that my parents have at the house?
Nice.
You say nice. It is hot as, it's like a,
there's a reason that this place is fun.
Well, take it all off, Mark Thompson. I mean,
baby.
Start shedding at the clothes.
Yeah.
We'll do a shirtless broadcast today.
Wow, that's cool. I mean, I
Good
do
morning,
have
Mr. Thompson.
a lot to share. That's all I'll say.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Shake it, baby.
Smash it with your iron rod with a thumbs up. Thanks for all the love. Kim's news next, and then the legal ninja He is without peer. The great David Katz joins us after 11 o'clock. Mark Thompson Show.
I'm Kim McAllister on the Mark Thompson Show. This report sponsored by tax attorney or tax ninja Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. Let's talk about this train derailment. It's another one happened in Alabama this time, though. No reports of injuries or leaks after another Norfolk Southern train derailment. This one happened this morning in eastern Alabama, just hours after the company's CEO testified before lawmakers about the East Palestine, Ohio derailment that led to a toxic spill. Authorities say about 30 cars came off the tracks in Alabama. They say no toxic chemicals on this one, no injuries either, but what a mess that is to clean up.
They're running out of apology cards, I would think, to send out, don't you think?
Well, it seems like an awful lot of derailments. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
My bad. I'm sorry.
Every time they turn around, they got another one. You have the
It was
CEO's
wrong,
got to
it
be
was
like,
stupid,
oh,
and I'm trying to be a better person.
not again.
Yeah.
President
Yeah, that's,
Biden
by the way, that's
today-
got to be awkward testimony when he's there in front of Congress.
Yeah.
The guy from Norfolk Southern.
Yeah.
And they go, excuse me, just breaking news, sir. There's been another train derailment. Yeah, no, I know. That's why I'm here. No,
And
I mean
wanted
another
to
one on top of
apologize
the other
to
one.
the Asian community, the Asian American community.
Oh.
Anyway.
President Biden is proposing a series of tax hikes on wealthy Americans, part of his budget for fiscal year 2024. He's due to speak about it in Philadelphia. The increases intended to help reduce the deficit and bolster funding for key programs like Medicare. The budget is likely dead on arrival, DOA, in Congress as Republicans control the House. But maybe, Mark Thompson, maybe President Biden knows where the bodies are buried and he'll use his leverage to say, vote for it, or you know what comes out.
No. It stands no chance of passage. And Trump's budget stood no chance of passage in a divided Congress. But it does reflect the priorities of the administration, and it is a blueprint that reflects those priorities. That's really what a presidential budget is about.
Yeah. This is Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. He's concerned about Iran's nuclear program, and he was speaking in Israel today, saying diplomacy is the best way to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. Despite that, he labeled Iran the primary driver of instability in that region. A judge is reportedly now ordering deliberations to start in this case. It's the penalty phase for convicted terrorist Saifullah Saipov. Reporters inside the federal courtroom say a judge has ordered an alternate juror to take the place of another juror who couldn't come because of a family emergency. The jury had started deliberations yesterday to try and decide whether Saipov gets the death penalty for a 2017 ISIS-inspired attack. There are sections of the Bay Area now in a state of emergency. Here's a little picture of the rain. Governor Gavin Newsom adding Napa County, San Francisco, San Mateo, and Santa Clara counties to his latest declaration yesterday. This will help support new storm response and relief efforts. Governor Newsom saying crews are working around the clock to deploy life-saving equipment as more dangerous weather moves in on central and northern California through the weekend. And speaking of that, Santa Clara County expected to get the most rain from this new storm. That is why Valley Water has crews spread out in hopes of avoiding a repeat of January's flooding. A spokesperson says they're taking the same precautions just in case, saying there's always a possibility Mother Nature changes her mind. The district has also been filling up sandbags and dropped more than 4,000 of them off in Morgan Hill. Meanwhile, in Santa Rosa, more parents are on edge after another school scare there. This time, police arrested a student for allegedly bringing a knife to Amarosa Academy. That happened on Tuesday of this week. The 15-year-old's backpack was checked that morning. Per policy, the knife reportedly hidden in the plastic lining of a binder inside the backpack. This comes just a week after a 16-year-old was stabbed to death during a classroom fight at Montgomery High School in Santa Rosa. So no word on what the child was planning to do with this knife, but police found it. They got it. It is out of there, and still kind of a scary situation.
These schools have become such dangerous places, it would seem. I don't know. It seems more dangerous.
Freshman at school next year, and it's scary. Lastly, Tom Brady in the news. He says he's too busy to return to the NFL. Maybe the retirement sticks this time. Responding to reports that he may return, Brady tweeted to anyone thinking he has time to play football again, they have never adopted a 2-month-old kitten for their daughter. This in response to a talk show which Rich Eisen said he heard while at the NFL Combine in Indianapolis that Brady was thinking of unretiring for a second time. The quarterback retired early last year only to end up coming back a month later. Yes, we know. But Brady said he's retired for good after announcing he was walking away from the game earlier this year. And now he's got the kittens. So, that's a true retirement move right there. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve
The kitten, and have you seen my girlfriend? I'm kind of busy right now, dude. I don't want to go to training camp.
Yeah, kitten and a girlfriend. Hot girlfriend. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and for businesses. So if you need help with your taxes, Steve Moskowitz can do that job. He's at 888-TAX-DEAL and MoskowitzLLP.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It was great. I loved it.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
Morning.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Stay at home and get baked.
All right. Thank you for being here, everybody. Hour 2, it's our Thursday show. Thursdays I look forward to for all the things that collect all week. Many of your communications, many of your questions about the law. We've had, I feel like, a window on the legal system, particularly since the Trump administration seemed to run afoul of it so often and sort of flipped the entire justice system, the bird. We've had more cases related to Trump, but also things unrelated to the Trump. Since we've had this activist court that's really been seized by the radical Christian right, in my judgment, and that's why we saw the rollback on a woman's reproductive rights and abortion rights in this country. We're seeing a lot of other stuff that I think is sort of quacking the same way. We begin to look at the law and justices in different ways. One of the people, and I would suggest to you one of the great guests in the history of KGO, is this guy, the former assistant U.S. attorney. He's with us on Thursdays at 11:05, and he's here with us now. Please welcome David Katz, everyone. Yeah. Hey there, David Katz.
Great to be with you, Mark. Kim?
There is so much going on, David, and I don't really know where you want to start. So I will turn it over to you. I mean, the censure of the Trump lawyer, this case that continues in Texas, which is very relevant to the abortion pill and its availability, even in states like California.
Well, let's start with the censure of the attorney in Colorado. Her name is Jenna Ellis. She was one of the ones who went around the country with Giuliani on this, misleading campaign to try to tell the nation and the world that Trump had won when in fact he'd lost. And she put out all of the lies that Giuliani and Sidney Powell were putting out. She actually said that there were 500,000 votes for Trump that had not been counted or were somehow not given proper weight in Arizona. She said that the voting machines changed the votes. She said all of that. Apparently, she was kind of a nobody. She wasn't someone famous like Giuliani, but she hitched her wagon to that, and I guess hoped that she could ride it to a post in the administration or to some great fame and fortune in the future. Of course, it all turned out to be nonsense, and she ended up facing bar proceedings in Colorado, Mark, where she's a member of the bar. She hired a lawyer, and certainly from a point of view of his lawyering, not her lawyering for Trump, but his lawyering for her, he seems to have done a wonderful job for her because he seems to have gotten her a very sweetheart deal, and she's gotten a public censure, which, given that the whole world knows what a terrible role she played and that she misrepresented the facts and the law in the case, she was sort of publicly censured anyway, right, by the massive negative publicity that she brought on herself. On top of that, she was fined $225, not $225,000, $225. So I would say that was some great lawyering from the point of view of her lawyer. She keeps her her fame or notoriety. She keeps her big, I guess, website or, her followers. She's still a member in good standing of the bar in Colorado. And it does seem like it was a very small slap on the wrist. I think if this had happened in California, our bar would have been much tougher. And, I've had, friends, attorneys who've ended up, sideways with the bar in California. And it's a very unhappy place for them to be. There was a fellow on our floor, just a nice guy about 10 years ago. He did something no lawyer should ever do. He was short of money and he dipped into some client funds. And then when it was found out, he restored the money. Notwithstanding that, he was actually disbarred. And a lot of lawyers face very severe penalties, and the public thinks with good reason, right? With good reason. But it just seemed that she got quite a slap on the wrist and not much punishment at all. For what it's worth, she was, down the totem pole. And the more prominent lawyers on the case, Giuliani has been suspended from the bar, not given a public censure. He's been suspended from the bar, and he may yet be disbarred. Eastman, who was kind of the guru from Southern California on this idea that the vice president could just not count certain votes, that he could recognize slates, that he could send the vote back to the states to have sort of a recount or a redo. All of this stuff that was not the law, but that he claimed was the law. Eastman's in a lot of trouble, and you'll remember that a judge in Southern California, a federal judge, found when it became a matter of attorney-client privilege that Eastman was asserting as to documents with Trump that no, this was not attorney-client privilege because it was within an exception mark, which was the crime fraud exception. So a federal judge found that it was more likely than not that this Eastman, a member of the California bar, had committed a crime with Trump, and therefore there was no attorney-client privilege protection, and the documents had to be turned over, and they were indeed quite incriminating. And then finally, there's a fellow, I always forget his name, Jeffrey something, but he was the person who wanted to be the attorney general. And, we had a coup on January 6th. They had a little coup at the Department of Justice attempted where he was going to oust the people who'd replaced Barr. Barr had finally had enough. Barr had done all these things that, you hold your nose, what he did with Mueller and everything else. But finally, Barr even left. A fellow named Rosen came in. Rosen had a deputy named Donahue. This fellow, who was lower down in the department, he was going to leapfrog over all of them. He was going to take power. He was going to issue a memo that said that the Justice Department was looking into a lot of fraud in the election, which was non-existent. And then you remember Trump said, just make that announcement. Jeffrey Clark, you lower down official that I'm going to vault over the others and make you the acting attorney general. You issue the statement that there was a whole lot of fraud, and then let me and the Republican members of Congress take it from there. They would ballyhoo it to make it look like, oh my God, the Justice Department found fraud. Well, we can't let Biden take office. So all of those lawyers are in trouble. Ellis, the least trouble, but in fairness to this sort of situation, Mark, she was the furthest down. She was sort of a tag along, but she made an awful lot of statements. I mean, she had public interviews where she said there's 500,000 votes for Trump that aren't being counted in Arizona, and the machines are adding up the numbers wrong.
Yeah, boy, you've said so much, and it's interesting. In the disbarment and evaluation of who should be disbarred, it sounds to me, and you made the point quite well, that California might be a tougher audience than, for example, California. In the case of Ellis, I wonder, though, Colorado, it doesn't seem as though it will be a place where you'd be cut a lot of slack. But I also noted in your explanation that it sounds as though the bar and disbarment and what constitutes offenses that will likely result in disbarment has a lot to do with money. Like you gave the example of dipping into a client's monies to cover your own expenses, and then even if you reimburse them, it's considered. I mean, that was enough to just be disbarred. So when it comes to disbarment and this kind of thing, it sounds to me like money is a big trigger. And some of these political things that have been pursued, I mean, even though they've been pursued at pretty high levels, Giuliani, David, as you know, it wasn't just that he was putting an election lie out there. He said you had to fight Remember, he had the whole thing on the ellipse that day. He was saying you've got to go to combat, get into combat for the things you believe. The incendiary rhetoric that came out of Giuliani was pretty scary.
Eastman also spoke at that rally. So I think Eastman and Giuliani and Trump, of course, I think Donald Trump Jr., who gave incendiary speeches at that rally and then, headed people over to the Capitol. And, Trump famously said, just walk right down Pennsylvania Avenue and I'll walk right down there with you. And then, either like a coward, he went back in the White House because he wanted his followers to believe that he would lead them into battle, and he was cowardly and pusillanimous and didn't plan to do those things. Or maybe from Hutchinson's testimony, you remember her, Casey Hutchinson, she seems to say that he really was, what is Murdoch's latest expression, increasingly mad? That increasingly mad President Trump in the waning days on January 6th grabbed the steering wheel, and he really did demand to go there, and he was going to walk in there. I mean, like a real third world coup leader, and he was going to, lead his troops into the Capitol and say, I'm here to seize power. This election was stolen from me, and I'm here to take power. And that was maybe what Trump, planned to do. Remember that testimony from the January 6th committee?
Absolutely. And look, he's the leading candidate, leads the Republican field for the 2024 election. Because we're on to Trump, I just want to ask you about what he's facing in Georgia, but more about something that's not directly about Trump per se, and more about what is being talked about in the Georgia legislature, which is a bill to remove prosecutors like the one who is building a case against the former president. Fannie Willis is, I believe, her name, right? And as she's deciding whether to pursue these indictments after her investigation now that has gone on into former President Trump's effort to overturn the presidential election, and Georgia was a key place to do it. There is this legislation that's being talked about, a bill that would be in the Georgia legislature that would allow the legislature to remove someone like Willis, particularly if she was involved in something like this, which could be deemed a politically motivated case.
Well, Fannie Willis is a fascinating figure in her own right. She gave an interview to the New York Times where she said that her father was a member of the Black Panther Party and was an activist lawyer. And she's serving her first term. She was just elected in 2020. She has a very large staff down there. And of course, Georgia is an extremely controversial state, a red state for a long time. It just went blue. It went blue by its famous 11,700 votes for Biden. That was what Trump was talking about on the recorded conversation when he called into Georgia to the Secretary of State. And he said, find me 11,780 votes, which from the context clearly meant concoct them for me, because Georgia had already been counted 2 or 3 times, including a hand count, which showed that Trump had lost the state. So when he talks to the Secretary of State on like January 3rd and says, find me these votes, and he didn't know that that call was going to be recorded. It's so important that people, remember that. He's going to try to, wriggle his way out of it now and say, oh, well, I was just, just a little conversation, a little back and forth. I didn't really mean it. I meant find me legitimately. But the fact was that he didn't know that that conversation was going to be recorded. And now it's dynamite that it is. On top of that, he said during the conversation that the Secretary of State and the Secretary of State's lawyer could both be in a lot of trouble, and implied that they could be in criminal trouble. And of course, when you're the president, a lot of people think that you have a lot of control of the Attorney General. Merrick Garland always wants it to appear, and I believe it's true, that Biden doesn't control him. But did I have real doubts that Sessions and Barr were controlled by Trump? Of course I had great reservations in that regard. And, it's a threat. When the President of the United States says you could be in legal trouble, you could be in criminal trouble to somebody, and you have this perception that he controls the Department of Justice, it's quite a threat. But, I've said this before on your show, and you could play this back to me when I'm proven wrong. All of us commentators risk that. I don't believe that she is going to charge Donald Trump with felonies in Georgia. First of all, you know, this special grand jury that she had, the one that the forewoman came forward and made comments about, she was allowed to do that because it's not the charging grand jury. It's like an investigatory grand jury, Mark, that has the power to subpoena witnesses so they could lock in all of these important witnesses like Giuliani, like Senator Graham. You know, that they came back in January. We heard about some of the recommendations that they'd made in February, but they came back over 2 months ago. Now, they came back with their report. You have the report, okay? All that's left to do is to go in front of the accusatory grand jury. When I was a federal prosecutor, once you have your reports all together, you know all the facts. You don't need a long time in front of the grand jury. The reality is that you have a story, the narrative that you want to present. You know from your investigation and from the previous grand jury sessions what's happened. You go in there with your indictment, your charging document, and you charge. The fact that she hasn't charged anybody, and we now know that there were 12 people recommended for indictment, I really am starting to think that, you know, she wants to stay in office. This looks good to her constituents, but if she really wanted to charge somebody, she should have done it already. And I don't think that Trump is going to be in the first round. I think at most he would be in a second round after she flips people. And, you know, tick-tock, time is a wasting. If he somehow wins the presidency again, and we're talking about something that could happen 18, 20 months from now, tick-tock, he'll have the same argument that a sitting president can't be charged. If he can't be charged federally, I think the Supreme Court is going to say he can't be charged in a state court either. And, you know, she should have gotten moving with this thing already. And let me say one last thing about this, because she says that it's racist that they're even presenting this bill. I think there's, you know, certainly they're trying to help Trump. They're presenting this bill. They're trying to chill her. But in my opinion, I don't think it's racist, and I don't think it helps to build a consensus for indicting Trump in state court in Georgia to make those kinds of claims. Because if you remember Arbery, he was the fellow who's running down the street, just jogging, and these good old boys chase him and eventually kill him. You remember that famous Arbery case? That was also in Georgia. At that time, a Democratic member of the legislature in Georgia suggested a bill just like that, because one of them was a good old boy. He'd been a sheriff. He was a friend with the prosecutor. The allegation was that the prosecutor didn't go after the good old boy because he was too close to the sheriff's office. And they thought, you know what, in a situation like that, we ought to be able to remove a prosecutor. So there is some impetus down there in Georgia already to have legislation like this. It was brought by a Democrat, not approved by the Republicans. Of course, now the Republicans are going to think it's a great idea because it's a way to chill her, and it's going to chill her. It looks like the Senate down there is going to pass it. The state legislature down there passed it. It's Governor Kemp. Remember, he's the Republican. He's the one who beat Stacey, I always forget her last name.
Abrams, yeah.
But Abrams, right. He's the one who beat her. He's the one who defied Trump, but he's a good, solid Republican who's going to sign that bill. And yes, they're going to use that. They say for all of these, pro-criminal defense attorneys, all the so-called woke district attorneys, right? They're supposedly these woke district attorneys who aren't going after marijuana cases, who aren't going to go after these abortion restrictions that the right-wingers want them to go after. These are supposedly the DAs that they want to have an impact on. But obviously, we're all big boys and girls. We know that what they're trying to do is chill a prosecution of Trump, make her life difficult, and to chill her from charging Trump. That's what they're trying to do down there, and they're about to succeed in doing it. And I just think time's a wasting for her. If she's going to charge people, charge them, bring it on, and let what happens happen.
I mean, I've never been so convinced as I am when David Katz finishes a run like that as to the fact that Donald Trump will not be indicted. You've given it. I can see why you're a great attorney. I mean, you lay out the evidence so clearly. Yet it's so weird because, frankly, for the reasons that you also detail, essentially the recording of a president asking you to, invent a way for him to win your state, the evidence seemed overwhelming. But as you say, he can wriggle, and now the more this becomes politicized and the more the clock ticks, this becomes sort of a fading hope of those who really wanted to hold Trump to account. Let me ask you a question just about this Fulton County District Attorney in this case. Now, she's elected, right? Or she is
Right.
elected by the people. So when you talk about this new bill, and when we've spoken of this Georgia Republican-led state legislature that wants to hatch a bill to remove her, you're really talking about a subversion or an abrogation of the people's choice, the people's voice. They've chosen her, and now the legislature is essentially replacing her when they don't like her agenda, if the bill passes.
Two things. Yeah, two things. One, one of her outs, I think, politically, at the end of the day, when she runs for re-election and she hasn't indicted Trump, just like the New York district attorney when he runs for re-election and he hasn't indicted Trump, they're going to say, you know what, Merrick Garland didn't do this. These were both violations of federal law. They have the FBI. They have, these smart assistant U.S. attorneys like I was, and they have them by the dozens. If they didn't do it, why does the state of Georgia, why does the city of Atlanta and the city of New York City have to do these things? I mean, that's kind of a bit of the cover that I think that they'll have when they run for re-election, not having indicted Trump. On your point, it's interesting, but it is a smaller subdivision, a city, than a state. If you look at California, our attorney general has a lot of power. In fact, in the last election, the fellow who ran for attorney general, he did very poorly. He didn't get any interest. It was kind of a disaster, like so many of the statewide Republicans are who run here. But the one issue that he had was he said, remember, they don't like Gascon down here. They think, why isn't Gascon? And his point was the attorney general could have taken over these prosecutions from Gascon. And the current attorney general didn't do it, but I will do it. I will actually trump, if you want to use that word, the state elected person, and I will take over the prosecution. And, in this state, your appeal is not handled by the DA's office. A criminal appeal is handled by the state attorney general's office. So the idea that the state attorney general will exert this statewide power over a locality is not radical. We have it in California. And the fact that they're going to have it in Georgia, now, of course, it would end up going up to the state courts if they really try to change the prosecutor's discretion. The argument always is that even the courts can't change the prosecutor's discretion. It's a discretionary thing, whether you charge somebody or not. How can anybody, even a judge, even the attorney general, come along and say, you, district attorney, have to charge this person? But the state, you look at our state here, the state attorney general can say there's a conflict of interest, and they can go charge somebody. They can go over the head of the district attorney and charge somebody. And so what they're going to have there is they're going to have a commission. It's supposed to be good government, but, it'll be packed by the Republicans with Republicans who are going to try to rein her in and try to tell some of the other district attorneys down there that they have to go after marijuana cases and they have to prosecute people who, help get abortion. That's what the real political fight is going to be. But the theory, it's the bigger state unit, right? It's sort of like the federal government. I mean, the attorney general in Washington can tell a local U.S. attorney what to do. If you want to use these other comparisons, the larger political unity does have some power to tell the smaller unity. The state can tell the local DA. Even though the person is elected, they have some powers that are carved out to the state as a state, and those may supersede local powers.
That's fascinating.
They may.
Really fascinating. Go ahead, Kim.
I popped in because I wanted to ask a question. I've been really frustrated about the whole Tucker Carlson sightseeing January 6th, no big deal kind of situation. I wonder, is there any type of legal route to be taken to sue or stop this type of behavior where the government gives the footage of a national event to only one agency and it's obviously for propaganda reasons? Well, I mean, do we have any recourse as a society for that injustice?
Vote for Democrats for the House so that they don't have a 4 or 5 vote majority. Something really interesting on that, I hope that's responsive to you, Kim, is that because of the crime situation, especially in New York and the New York subways and so forth, about 3 or 4 seats changed hands from the Democrats to the Republicans. And with that kind of went the majority. With that, we got McCarthy. With that, we got McCarthy turning over these tapes. I mean, there wasn't much that the previous majority, the Democratic majority, could do. You know, some people said, why didn't they just send everything over to the Senate and then the Senate could not give it to the House? And I think the reality is that the game is not played that way. You know what I mean? There is these tapes. They're very long. And now that McCarthy's in control of the House and he's in control of those tapes or other copies of the tapes, he could give them to Carlson. I think Carlson ends up looking really stupid in this whole thing. I don't think people buy this. I think that the smart stations are showing McCarthy at the time, saying this was terrifying. People were getting beaten. Show McCarthy's real reaction at the time. Show this is all political. Show that this is all to get Marjorie Taylor Greene's vote and Gates's vote, that he's sunk to this level of what you say, deception of the public. But one of the problems is that you have the habitual Fox viewer, and they don't watch other networks. They don't listen to what we're saying right now. They don't flip around the dial, and Fox won't even cover it, just like they won't cover the Dominion lawsuit properly. And so people don't even know. They don't know that, you know, Tucker Carlson said, I detest Trump. And now, of course, he's going back just the other way. It's all about the money. It's all because Tucker Carlson wants to get the huge paycheck and Fox wants to make the money. They shouldn't even be called Fox News. It's Fox Entertainment with enough news to kind of suck in the habitual viewer. But what are you going to do? You know, as my mom used to say, it's a free country.
Well, and freedom of speech, I guess you could argue. And that brings me to the other question I wanted to ask you about. In Florida, there's a situation where there's a lawmaker proposing legislation to have political bloggers have to register with the government if they're receiving money for their blogs, so that, you know, I think it kind of gets in the way of their freedom of speech, but also kind of treats them more like lobbyists than journalists.
Well, you know, that's really interesting. We have the New York Times v. Sullivan standard, which has given a huge high bar to speakers. So people really can speak freely. They're not always hit by lawsuits. You know, if to speak freely or to have a blog, you have to go hire an expensive lawyer. That's an enormous chill on free speech. And we protect particularly public figures. But, you know, this thing where they allow people to sue bloggers and they argue whether they're public figures or not, I think the reality is that a willful state like Florida that really wants to give them a hard time can give them a fairly hard time because, you know, the idea that free speech gives you a right to be free from particular lawsuits, they can make your life difficult. You know, we have this anti-SLAPP in California to try to stop people from filing lawsuits that are designed to get people to curtail their First Amendment rights. But, you know, until we had those lawsuits and stuff like that, legislature can make it, they can help sue happy people go after people. And if sue happy people can sue you and make you spend a lot of money out of your pocket on a lawyer, people are chilled. They just think, you know what, it ain't worth it. And I hope that those laws don't go forward. But I think that DeSantis is really walking on very thin ice. And what he's doing with Disney and all those kinds of things, I just think that it's so short-sighted and not in the public interest. But that's what makes politics, right? Obviously, some of his Florida voters don't agree with me.
Yeah, he's a jihadist, and this is one of his jihads. And to weaponize the legislature is something that he clearly seems bent on doing. David, we're out of time. So appreciate you every week. You can find David here next week as well. The former assistant U.S. attorney, and his knowledge base is quite extraordinary. I'm always astounded. Yeah. And you've laid out some stuff. Honestly, it's a bit depressing that we're going to see probably the highest profile of the things that we've talked about is the Trump case, just because we've been living in this world of anticipation for so long. But you lay out quite cleanly why it just may be a bridge too far for these various state attorneys, so and county attorneys. So, David, until next week, thank you so much.
Great to be with you. It is depressing sometimes.
Yeah, it's not always that encouraging. And thanks to Tony. Shout out to Tony for helping to make things happen. He is because David comes in through a phone line and Tony helps make that all happen. So even though you're not seeing Tony, he is he's part of the scene. What's the scene? What can you tell us about the scene? Tony makes it happen, Larry. When we come back, Kim's News, I have an anniversary and a question. Also some shout outs and environmental news on Thursdays, and It's the Planet Stupid, all of it. Still to come, smash that like button like a boss. Come on now.
Smashed it with
Mark
your
Thompson
iron
Show.
rod.
Right on. Right on.
I'm Kim McAllister on the Mark Thompson Show, and this report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. Let's start with Mitch McConnell, because the Senate Minority Leader is in the hospital being treated for a concussion. The Kentucky Republican tripped and fell at a dinner event last night in Washington, D.C. McConnell's communications director says he is expected to remain in the hospital for a few days for treatment and for observation. So Mitch McConnell in the hospital with this concussion. I was reading earlier that he had polio as a child and sometimes is a little unstable on his feet. So wishing him speedy recovery. Mexico's president doesn't like the idea of using the military force to deal with the cartels in his nation. This is Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador. He said no foreign government will get involved in Mexican affairs. Thank you very much. His remarks coming one day after South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham announced that he will introduce legislation to designate a group of cartels in Mexico as foreign terrorist organizations. Here in California, Governor Gavin Newsom has the COVID. Yep. He tested positive yesterday, marking his second infection since right after the pandemic started in 2020. Governor Newsom said to be experiencing mild symptoms. He's self-isolating at this point, but it won't stop him from making a major announcement today. He plans to take part in a news conference over Zoom, joining Attorney General Rob Bonta and other state leaders as well. So Governor Gavin Newsom... I
wonder if he'll use the major announcement I wonder if he has his own kind of major announcement music and drop and sounder.
We should contact the governor's office and let him know. He can borrow ours. Absolutely. I don't know if you've been following this case. Maybe I should have asked David Katz about it, but there's this situation going on in San Diego, and now jury deliberations are underway in this case. It's over pay equity, age and gender discrimination, and the case is against a TV station in San Diego. Closing arguments made yesterday in the case against KUSI TV, filed by former news anchor Sandra Moss, pictured here. Attorneys for Moss said this case is about women who suffer pay disparity across the country. They called on the jury to punish McKinnon Broadcasting for what they did to Moss and other women in the community. Attorneys for the station argued California law does not actually require equal pay for equal work. That's your argument? And that nearly $90,000 of a pay gap between Moss and her co-anchor, Alan Denton, was justified because they said he had more experience and he allegedly worked harder than she did. So $90,000 more for him.
Wow.
Roku is set to start selling its own company-made TV. They'll be sold exclusively at Best Buy and on the store's website too. Roku said their TVs create more choices for customers and could help boost active account growth as well.
I'll tell you what their TVs do. The Roku stick. It's just easier to navigate. I have one in a room that I don't use much. You can imagine the Thompson estate. We have several rooms that are really not quite frequented by many.
Nobody goes in there. That's the parlor.
But when I find myself there, I like Roku because it's easier just to navigate their choices, their menu options. I find everything else, and this is the problem, it just takes so much to be able to bring it. Like if it's Netflix or Amazon Prime, I can bring it in easily. I don't quite have the
is it different than the Amazon Fire Stick? Aren't they all the same?
Yeah, maybe the sticks are all the same in terms of the menu. But I think I need to stick it or Roku it, Roku TV it. I may be looking at an upgrade myself.
Well,
thank you, Kim.
Stay tuned for what you choose.
Yes.
How cool is this thing? This is an Archer Aviation Midnight, and it is nearing completion. It is the first all-electric aircraft. It's called the Midnight. Yeah. Archer
There's never been anything like this.
There really hasn't. Archer hopes to start flight testing in mid-2023 in advance of certification testing with the FAA. Midnight
That's
is
not
a vertical...
fake. That's real.
Wow.
Midnight is a vertical takeoff and landing aircraft intended to move small groups of people on short commutes.
Wow, so it takes off vertically. That's straight up and down, isn't it?
Yeah. It's the Jetsons.
Love it.
Oh,
Look
and
at
is
It's
that
a cool
United
looking
flying
thing.
them?
Yeah, it looks like United.
It does.
Airplane.
Logo, yeah.
They may be working with them, yeah. Archer, by the way, based in the Bay Area, so yeah, cool.
All
The San Francisco mansion that was featured in the movie The Princess Diaries is up for sale. This was the high school. They used it as the high school in The Princess Diaries. I don't know if you remember. It's got 4 bedrooms, it's got 4 bathrooms, a media room, an elevator. There's a rooftop garden with a view that also was featured heavily in The Princess Diaries. How much do you think in San Francisco this would go for, Mark?
46 million.
Wrong. $9 million.
What?
It cost $9 million for this Princess Diaries house.
How many square feet?
It doesn't say. I don't know. We don't know.
Oh my God!
You're asking me too many questions.
Does Anne Hathaway come with the property?
She does not. That you're gonna have to keep your fantasies in check. She does not.
How dare you?
Yeah. But it's a cool looking house, $9 million.
Very, very cool. Yeah.
Property. Yeah. This report is sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz for more than 30 years. Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for businesses, for individuals, whatever you've got brewing, he can help you. He is at 888 Tax Deal and he is at moskowitzllp.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
Mm-hmm.
That's when the music.
I got
Albert. There you go.
Yeah. Oh, Albert. Rock me out, Albert. Come on, kid.
Who's Mark Thompson?
Feels great, baby.
Let me kick down the door and talk to my cheap sons and daughters. No context will suffice to explain the hurt and anguish caused by my words. I apologize to all who have been hurt.
I stand corrected. I misspoke. My words upset so many people.
And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
God bless America. The end.
There's never been anything like this.
Do I hit it long? Is Trump strong?
Who is having that conversation?
It's fantastic.
That's not fake. That's real.
The science is ridiculous.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
If you get it in order, you get extra points.
Listen to me. I don't want to hear you.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
This is a word from the Lord, and he's not happy.
There is no defense for my conduct. It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
Don't ever use that word. You get nothing.
What's a guilty pleasure to you about?
Seriously, what the
Yeah. What up? I love it. Very cool for you to join us. This is the home stretch. Mark Thompson Show. Great to have you here. We've got Kim. She continues on the Nikki Maduro channel, which follows ours. And then she continues on Jefferson Graham's Photo Walks channel. So
big day.
She has a very, very big day.
It's like you're on a media tour. Like you should be promoting the Mark Thompson on every program.
I am. I'm trying to get more subscribers to the Mark Thompson Show. That's why you see.
So far, I
this
feel
is
like
why I do these things for you, and you don't appreciate it.
I feel like we're.
Do you know who I am? I'm kind of a big deal.
Right, possibly. I got some cool emails related to something that is available to all who watch and listen. This is from Annie K. I don't like to give out last names because I don't want people to get, necessarily
Yeah.
contacted if they don't want to be. Hey, Annie, heard your name mentioned on the Mark Thompson show. Just wondered if you're single. That kind of thing. I don't want people necessarily to get that. Hi, Mark.
Maybe there's a love connection to be made here on the Mark.
You know what? Maybe we should
Wild
do an event.
idea, but it just might work.
You're right. Maybe we should start using that. Anyway, Annie K sends this note. Hi, Mark. I absolutely love, in capital letters, my new hoodie.
Oh.
I wore it to my hair salon yesterday, and the stylist said, "You listen to that show?" My parents are devastated since KGO went off the air. I said, Guess what? Mark, she texted her parents right then to tell them about your show and Nikki's show.
Cool.
They didn't know. They're so happy, and new listeners who will spread the word. Thank you for all you do, Kim, Albert, John, Tony, and Courtney. Thank you. Wow, Annie, that's such a lovely note.
Good day, sir.
And thanks for the word about the hoodie. I'm glad it's working out. There it is. It is the newest item at getmarkmerch.com. And if you're on YouTube now, you see it. That's embroidered. There's nothing patched on. It's all high quality. And that pullover hoodie is magical. Pouch in front, of course, if you to warm your hands and to stash whatever you want to stash. Maybe you have a major announcement type paperwork that you want to keep in there, whatever you want. Yes, exactly. The Mark Thompson Show embroidered hoodie is available at getmarkmerch.com, and you can be just like Annie and impress your friends. The other hot item right now, because it's coming next week, the start of it, Mark's Madness. The Mark's Madness hat is there. Those who are real players, it's a really cool hat. Again, embroidered, no patching. I'm wearing it right now, and there you see it on the website. It's at getmarkmerch.com. And we also have the fanny pack and cross-body sling, which you may like as well, and all sorts of other stuff. There's fun stuff on that website at getmarkmerch.com. But get this for next week, Mark's Madness. Can't wait to get started. And tomorrow, I believe Albert will. It's tomorrow, Albert. We're going to road test one. We're going to show everybody how it's done. Is that what? Or are we going to do it on a separate video?
Let's actually have a play-in for the play-ins. So we'll think of some. Some of our more fringe, some of our more not oft used drops. So we'll use some of those.
So the commissioner is going to ride her over this, and he's setting up the brackets, but we'll have something to start the show in the first half hour tomorrow in our Friday show. I also wanted to acknowledge those of you who have made contributions today, those who have made contributions on Patreon and PayPal. I want to thank you very much. We received a lot of great contributions. Judy C., early on with $100 contribution on PayPal. Dave D., a $50 contribution on PayPal. I mean, it really, really impressive the way you guys have written in.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I know my newscast is over, but is it okay if I show a picture that I just got emailed to me?
Of course.
This is from David. He is, I think he might be a firefighter, but he has sent me this gorgeous view of Tahoe Summit. Look at that picture. I mean, wow.
There's never been anything like this.
So blue. The snow. Wow. It's
that
beautiful.
Is stunning.
Yeah.
That almost looks
that looks like
doctored.
A painting. Yeah. That looks like
I choose to believe...
I'm sorry, but I'm calling BS on the. I mean,
I'm believing firefighter David.
Yeah. I believe firefighter David on most things related to fires, but
I think he's got this right. Look at that.
Yeah, the sky and the lake. Albert, am I right? It's a giveaway.
Yeah,
it's real, 100% real.
I love, but look at the snow. I mean, that's all real. And that vista, I believe the vistas at Tahoe, the views, the scenery, away from, sadly, the overdevelopment at South Shore particularly, it makes it one of the most beautiful places on earth. It's just a magnificent place, Lake
So
Tahoe. And I told you, if
pretty.
you missed it in the first hour, one of the byproducts of all of these storms is that the lake has not been clearer in a long, long time. And the lake was starting to get a murky muddiness to it. And now that lake water is starting to look clear and beautiful again. So, yeah. So it's a perfect time.
Big shout out for sending over this Bob Ross painting. We're enjoying it.
It's not a Bob Ross painting.
Now, if you could send us the picture and what it looked like before you doctored it, we'd really like to see it. But
the trees look extra happy here. They look very happy.
David, thank you for sending this 100% real picture to the Mark Thompson Show. We appreciate it. They appreciate. Ignore those two. Those two. Riff-raff.
Do appreciate everybody who's hit us on PayPal for $5, $10, $20 a month. But there are those of you who have really stepped up with, $50 a month and $100 a month. It's quite extraordinary. All of your names are posted at the end of our show, and we very much appreciate it. We're thinking of new ways to integrate you and recognition into the show. We've got some special content planned that will drop to our Patreon people first. So if you haven't signed up on Patreon for whatever you can to support us monthly, it's the community that really does keep the lights on here, both at PayPal and Patreon. You can do it at themarkthompsonshow.com. There's a click through to both, themarkthompsonshow.com. And you have to put the V in there. Otherwise, you end up on a ventriloquist website who is, I'm sure, magnificent, but he doesn't need your support the way we do. So, Albert, do I need to do something else, or can I get a little environmental news in? And
how about let's pay forward the environmental news since it is a Thursday, and then we'll quickly. We have a lot of donations throughout the show that we need to get to before the end, and we'll save the quiz. We have a great anniversary. No, well, I guess it's not a great. We have a anniversary, and we'll have to get to it tomorrow.
Oh no, Albert! I've been promising the anniversary quiz. I won't have time for it.
I mean,
we
should get right to it.
All right. So I'll do It's the Planet Stupid. Then I can do the anniversary quiz. Then shout outs. Can I do that?
That sounds good. Yep.
All right. Let's go.
And then the Bob Ross painting again after. We need to revisit that.
Yeah, Kim is who put us late with some fake picture. Go ahead, Albert. It's the Planet Stupid. Do we have the open or we don't? No?
Planet Earth.
Some call me nature.
I am very passionate about the planet
Earth. A living, breathing planet capable of sustaining whatever life forms we see fit to deposit on it.
Spock, judging by the pollution content of the atmosphere, I believe we have arrived.
It's the planet stupid. No. It's the planet stupid.
I liked it. You're muted, Mark. Unmute. Boop. Can you hear me? You're muted, my friend. There you go.
The top 10 worst places to live in the United States for air pollution. We've talked about it before. This fine particulate matter that gets deep down in the lungs. It's carcinogenic at a minimum, and it can produce emphysema and all kinds of other issues. There is new analysis from The Guardian. They're using computer modeling and technologies associated with computer modeling.
Yeah.
And it's weird that the top spots are not the metropolises that you would think would be in the top spots. For example, central areas in Birmingham, Alabama, a portion of neighborhoods in central Atlanta, semi-rural areas in central Pennsylvania, a part of the St. Louis metro area at number 7, a large portion of the Houston area. I've talked to you about that before. Of all the metropolises in America, Houston, Texas has more Superfund sites. That's when something is declared by the EPA so toxified that they need a federal involvement to try to detoxify it, might be the summary on it. There are more of those sites around the Houston area than any other place in America. A large portion of Houston makes the top 10 most polluted from an air standpoint. They have the most polluting power plants in the nation there, and there are any number of things that are making life awful around the Houston area. A huge swath of Indianapolis in the 5th position. Northwest Indiana industrial zones in the 4th position. And again, I point to Indiana, I point to Ohio as having minimal kinds of regulatory systems in place to reduce air pollutants. Chicago's south and west sides. The communities that are affected, if you haven't figured it out yet, are overwhelmingly underserved economic communities, underclasses, if you will, within larger communities. Isn't Los Angeles in there anywhere? Yes. Number 2 is Los Angeles. Southern portions of Los Angeles, because of a lot of the freeway exchanges and the warehouses in South Los Angeles, there are real problems as opposed to some of the clearer air that exists on the west side and northern portions of Los Angeles. It's a dumping ground for industry, the southern portion of Los Angeles as well. And finally, the most polluted air in the United States for small particulate matter is here in California. It is in the Central Valley, and it is in a place that you might not associate it with this. It's the agricultural town of Bakersfield. Yeah. 100 miles north of LA, the most unhealthful air in America.
Wow.
It's surrounded by mountains that trap all that toxic farm chemical and dust and all the farm fumes, the oil drilling exhaust. All of that is settled into that basin that is Bakersfield. And so you've got pollution also blowing south from other parts of the state of California. And this has made local air regulators makes their head explode because it's just so difficult to do anything when it comes to Bakersfield air. The worst tracks in Bakersfield had up to 16 micrograms of fine particulate pollution per cubic meter over the years studied, well above the threshold set by the EPA that requires remediation action. So they're well in excess of what the EPA standards are. And by the way, those EPA standards aren't even high enough. So when it comes to air quality in the state of California, the worst you will find in Bakersfield. That's a little sliver of It's the Planet Stupid for today. I can't remember if they have a close. No, we don't.
No, it's just a new open. Yeah.
I thought I really stuck the landing though, Albert. If you break it out as a video, you can just edit it right there on the pause.
It'll be very seamless, Mark.
Thank you. So we got that done, Albert. Do I still have time for my quiz? You notice how once I was on the shot clock, there was an efficiency about my presentation. Did you catch that?
Yeah. We could get to it now. I'm also really excited for this quiz. We were talking about it before the show, and our pal Spencer Christian actually took part in the quiz and gave us more of an idea of how to do it better. So basically, he was doing my job for me, which I'm really happy about.
Well, let's play then, Albert. A little music, please. Here is the quiz for all of you who are watching right now on the Mark Thompson Show. And if you're watching in replay, again, I will re-emphasize. You are to guess in the comments. We will look at the comments later, and you'll receive full credit, full points for your guess if it's correct. This is the anniversary of something that happened with this guy, and his name is Christopher Wallace. That's a legal name. It's the real name of a performer, and you tell me the performer's performance name. Is it A, Justin Timberlake, B, Usher, C, Nelly, or D, Notorious B.I.G.? Is Christopher Wallace the real name of Justin Timberlake, Usher, Nelly, or Notorious B.I.G.? What is the answer? Justin Timberlake, Usher, Nelly, Notorious B.I.G. They all have real names, legal names. Which one of those names is Christopher Wallace? Justin Timberlake, Usher, Nelly, or Notorious B.I.G.? Bill says B.I.G. Louis says B.I.G. Biggie says John. Elephants are afraid of Bess. There's Janet saying B.I.G. Probably B.I.G. Chris Rock says College. Jan says B.I.G. Biggie says M.O. All right. I don't know. Somebody else take control. All right. We're both trying to punch up people at the same time, so I think but you get the idea. I think most people got it. In fact, I believe everybody got it. Yes, the actual retail price is Notorious B.I.G. Yeah. Christopher Wallace, it was 26 years ago that he was shot dead, right, Kim?
Yeah, it was 26 years ago. It was a drive-by shooting, and he was 24 when he passed away, and that was 26 years ago.
Yeah. Wow. Really, really incredible when you think about such a young person cut down like that. Talented dude, too. So that is that. Albert, what else do I have to do? Anything else? Acknowledgments, right?
Yeah, well, we're going to do some acknowledgments. It's going to be a super quick one, but we have a couple ones.
Turbo acknowledgement round. I love that, Albert. All right. Thank you, everybody who supports this show. I've mentioned Patreon and PayPal thus far, and now those of you today. Brian Kim, so happy to see your subscriber numbers climbing. Keep it going. Thank you, Brian, for $9.99. Candace for $9.99 as well. The super sticker. Love you, Candace. Regular. Vivian Alshawa, $4.99 super sticker. Thank you, Vivian. Shout out to you. Appreciate it. Spencer, same story. Regular listener, regular viewer. Spencer Jaffe for 10. I love you so much, Spencer, for being a regular participant in our community. Yeah. Deborah B, same story with the super sticker today for $10. Love that you threw something in our little virtual tip jar. Scott Rittenberg for $20.
Thank
you, all of you. Sharon Kidd for $20.
Big shout out.
Sharon. Big shout out. Sharon's here all the time.
So much.
And supports us tirelessly. So appreciate it, Sharon. Thank you so much, Sharon. Gail Guthrie for $19.99. What up, Gail Guthrie? Thank you, says Chappelle for Gail. Appreciate that. Kevin Hobbs, wow, Hall of Famer, 44.
Fours across the board. Fours.
Thank you.
Clearly in cry territory. Thank you very much for your ongoing support, Kevin. So appreciate it. And finally, Stephen S. Wow.
Big shout out.
Big shout out for Steve.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Steve S. Love that, Steve S.
Yeah.
Thank you, my
Thank
friend.
you
Wow.
so much.
Look, that's what keeps the show on the air. So
yeah,
it's really, really cool that you step up the way you do and as aggressively as you do to keep this show going. Thank you. At noon, Nikki Maduro begins her show with Kim in tow. Kim, what's the story today?
Newsom suing Huntington Beach. We'll find out why. San Francisco reversing a decision on sanctuary city policy. We'll take a look at that. California storm watch, of course, as we did here. We'll talk more about the rain ahead. Emergency declarations for 21 counties now in California related to the storm. And we'll pop in with Jefferson Graham at the very end as his show comes on right after Nikki's. And that's what we've got coming up on the Nikki Maduro Show.
A lot of Jefferson Graham today across these various channels.
Yeah,
wow.
It is.
I do want to thank everybody who joined us today and tell you that tomorrow we have the Friday favorites, Michael Shore, Michael's on politics, Michael Snyder on what to watch, and of course, Friday Fabulous Florida. So as Shadow would say...
Wait, no, not yet. Quick thank you to Billy. We forgot him. No.
Sorry, Billy. It's worth talking over Shadow. Thanks, Billy. Billy, thank you. Thanks, everybody. Till tomorrow. Bye-bye.